gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. Coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat.
Watch out now. Do you love that music or what?
It never gets old, Greener. I love that song.
Isn't it? That's a great theme music for us, though, isn't it?
Awesome.
Marcus, good to see you. Happy Easter, my friend.
Hey, happy Easter. Listen, it's going to be tough to outdo the last show. The race car driver was awesome.
We've got a great guest today. Geordie, Peter Redding's in the house. We see this guy. I'm telling you, he's got some stories. Great guy, super guys from Newcastle, England, near where I live. He's actually from Wickham, which is not far from Wallsend, where I'm living. Could bring him on the show in a few minutes. I just wanted to catch up. Hey, you are looking extremely sexy today, son. Like that shirt you've got on, it really shows your muscles.
Yes.
Marcus, how do I look?
Listen, amazing.
That's why I have you on the show, son. That's why I have you on the show. So how's Easter so far?
Listen, Easter's good. Getting ready for my Easter egg hunt, and then back to coaching on Monday.
There you go. Listen, guest today, Geordie Peter Redding. Peter works in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and is a broadcast specialist in radio, TV, podcasting, focused on the world of sport and leisure. Marcus, he's spent over 15 years, over 15 years of experience, including Emirates Radio, Dubai 103.8 FM, Coast FM, Capital Radio, and Dubai TV. I've checked out some of his stuff online. Now, I've seen Peter on LinkedIn, and I was really curious about his bio and the experience there. And I've always been fascinated to find out what it's like to just move out, to the United Emirates, and what the culture was like, what football was like there. And Peter's going to give us a bit of an insight into that. So without any ado there, I'm going to introduce Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Peter?
Peter.
Nice to see you.
Dubai looks like Newcastle.
Yes. Well, we got the old Angel of the North just for you. Give you a bit of the home treatment, which is our famous statue on the A1, which is a shout out to everyone in the northeast of England.
I think I've seen that once when I was home.
Can't miss it.
What's that motorway? The A9 or whatever? What is it? No,
that's the A1.
The A1. It's on the A1, right?
It's on the A1.
Do you like it? Do you think it's?
I do. Yes, I think it's become a symbol for the north of England. It's won awards. When it first went up, of course, like anything, I think people were quite shocked by it. It was quite a statement to make. But yeah, people love it, and they even when Newcastle were playing well, they even put a black and white shirt on it as well. So it was a real statement, a football top.
Marcus, you ever been to Newcastle?
No, isn't that like a third division team though?
Soon to be, if they carry on playing the way they are, Marcus. Yeah,
they play like it. I mean, my God. But I think we'll stay up. I really do. I think we'll squeeze it up, and there's probably going to be some changes made if once we stay up. But it's tough business. What do you think the life is like? You've got a pretty good insight because Premier League coaches and you've friends and you've talked with them. Do you think they enjoy it?
I think they do. I mean, I talk to them regularly. I'm in contact with them, but it's like anything. It's probably similar for you guys and all sports fans in America. It's a bug, and whether you're a spectator or whether you're involved in the game, like you guys, they feel the same. I think the pressure is tremendous at a Premier League club, just due to all of the dollars that are involved in it. It's such big business nowadays, and of course the owners of the clubs can wield that axe to get a new coach in anytime they see fit if they think they're going to be losing out on money. So it's a high pressure game. But again, a lot of these guys who are top coaches and managers have been involved in the game like you were, Sean, as a player. So it's something that comes from within.
It must be hard though, Peter, when you're at home with your wife and kids on a Saturday night, and you just got spanked 3-0, and all the abuse on the online. It's even it's really manifested itself now, because now it was in the Sunday papers, years ago. Now it's everywhere, every second, right? I think, Marcus, what do you think? How do you think they deal with that kind of stuff?
It's not easy, right? Because not everybody's level-headed like us, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there with actually not good intentions. So that's hard. I mean, it's hard.
If anybody puts a bad quote on my Facebook page, I'd cry like a baby. I wouldn't feel it lasted. That's me. That's me ruined for the weekend. But somebody gives me a thumbs down, that's it. I'm depressed for like 3 days.
I would have to ignore some of the social media if I was in the print.
That's the way.
I wouldn't want to focus on it. How did the kid from the MLS do for Newcastle? Do the fans like him? Has he done well?
Miguel Almiron. They've taken him to his hearts, and it's for a couple of reasons. The number one thing is his effort. He never stops. He never stops running. He's box to box, as any good midfielder should be. But his heart is as big as a lion. He's a firm fan favorite. Miggy, as he's affectionately known to the Newcastle fans, he's a superstar. And he plays the game in the right spirit. He never takes his bat home. But he's a battler, and he's well loved at our club. Well loved.
Where in the States is he? Where in the States, Marcus, is he from?
Well, he's not from the States. He played for Atlanta United, but
he's from Paraguay originally, but he plied his trade in the US, and he's so fond of it. He talks about it with great fondness, and that grounding that he's had, his technical ability comes from his time there. He's a great player.
Yeah, Greener, what's funny is when you see these guys from the MLS and stuff, you wonder, like, how will they do overseas? Because some of them you would think would do really well, and he's really adapted from the games I saw him play.
He understands the physical element, which is very important, because it's not all about technical ability, because you don't get the time on the ball in the English Premier League that you do elsewhere in different leagues. So he's really adapted very well.
Yeah, but can he handle the food in Newcastle?
I think he can. I mean, fish and chips and kebabs. Yeah, he's all over that.
Could he last a night in the big market, Peter?
Well, if you have a look at him, he's literally, I think he's about 9 stone, wringing wet. So I don't know. That's something that we'd have to get back to you on.
Peter, really interested. So give me a backstory. You were born in Wickham, or you?
I was born next to St James's Park. I was born in Newcastle General, just a good goal kick away from the stadium.
Yeah, brothers. Big family. Big family.
Sister. But my father, who was responsible for my journey into football, was one of 4 brothers, all mad fans as well. And it just stemmed from there. So I went to my first game when I was 5 years old.
St James's?
Yeah, of course.
Leazes End?
Yes.
Popular Leazes End?
Popular End was just starting to come to a close. I was in the East Stand, which was then the new stand, and giving my age away. 80s was when I first went, and never looked back.
When I used to go as a kid, we used to get the bus there. We'd arrive an hour and a half before kickoff, stand there for, there was no seats then.
No.
Seats were only really brought about because of the fights, right?
Yeah. I mean, to be safer, Sean. Yeah, it was the Hillsborough tragedy brought all-seater stadiums into play, if you will, and rightly so. But it did take a little bit of the atmosphere away. Marcus, we used to stand behind the goal, and if there was a goal, you could end up 10, 15 feet away from your best buddy. You didn't know where they were. You had to spend another 15 minutes trying to find them.
I used to play truant from school when I was a kid, and I used to get a bus up to St James's, and even in the winter, and the team would be training in the parking lot.
Yep.
Right there where the entrance is they'd be training Bobby Monker and Wyn Davies and you name it, Super Mac.
Yeah, great names.
Unbelievable. You just walk into the training ground those days, Marcus, back then.
Wait a second, Greener, didn't you play youth soccer with Steve Bruce?
Yes, same club. Steve Bruce, Peter Beardsley. When I was 18, I was captain of Wallsend Boys Club, and I coached the under-16 team. And on that team, I don't know, have you ever heard of Neil MacDonald?
Yes, and he was on my table at the anniversary dinner.
Yeah.
We just
I was Neil's coach. I was 18
Wow.
and he was 16. He was in an England squad, and he made his debut, I think, against, if I was correctly, when he was 16. He was one of the youngest players. Made his debut, I think, for Newcastle against Sunderland at Newcastle. And he told me, he says, he was shitting his pants, you know, and he was playing fullback. He was playing left back, and he made a decision that the first tackle he could get in the game, he was going to nail somebody big time, right? So about 5 minutes into the game, we just hit this block, put him in the stands, and the whole fans started yelling and screaming and shouting for him. And since that 5th minute, they were all on his side. All they wanted to do was kick Sunderland players, you know. But, listen, Peter, so tell me a little bit about From Wickham. How did you get the soccer bug, and then how did you end up getting into broadcasting?
Okay, so basically, as I say, my father took me to my first game when I was 5. Literally, like many kids of my age, we got the bug, so we all wanted to be in the school playground. We always wanted to be a Kevin Keegan, a Peter Beardsley, like you mentioned. But my greatest love was to go to the game and watch. And I used to basically write my own reports, my match reports as a kid. So I always wanted to do that. As I grew up, I knew that I wanted to be involved in the game. I was never going to make it as a player. Just wasn't good enough. So I sort of searched for areas in the next best thing, whether it was going to be journalism and so on and so forth. And I literally went and did into another career in the northeast of England and London. And I ended up moving to Dubai. My father came out to the United Arab Emirates to work in construction. I came out for a vacation, visited him, fell in love with it. And while I was there, my friend, who was a famous broadcaster in the northeast that you might know, Sean, was Steve Coleman from Metro Radio.
Yeah.
And he had a show out in Dubai, and a sports show. And his co-host was he took ill one Saturday afternoon, and he said, "Oh, I'm desperate. Can you stand in for him? And just, you've got a reasonable knowledge of the game." So I did. And that, as they say, was it. That was it. And then I was approached to stay on full time. And I used my contacts within the game to further my broadcast career.
What was the biggest difference? The biggest difference in Dubai? I mean, at the beginning when you first got there, the first couple of weeks you're there, and your head spinning, looking at everything. What was the biggest thing that hit you? I think it was, it probably the same for any expatriate that has lived somewhere. To go to a different country is, first of all, there's the vacation holiday vibe. It's great weather, of course. There's beaches, there's beautiful hotels and pools and restaurants. So, you get lulled into that. This is a fantastic place. So yeah, you have that holiday vibe, but you're there to work, and it's trying to get into that sort of that way of living. That was difficult. The weather in the summer is extremely hot. You're talking 40, 45 degrees, 100% humidity. So the weather plays a huge factor still, even after 20 years. When you approach summer, they were the sort of get used to aspects. The Emirati people, they're fantastic. They're very clever. They're very switched on business people. They're friendly. And they recognize the need to have expatriate people to help their country grow. It's a very safe country to live in. It's based on the oil. That was what it was based on, but it's now based on tourism. It's a tourist destination. It's a global destination with Emirates Airlines. You've probably seen Etihad Airlines from Abu Dhabi, which is our capital. It's a thriving country for tourism, and it's a great place. Have you been there, Marcus?
No, I haven't been there.
Your invite's waiting after the show. We love the beaches, beach soccer, and their passion for the game, for sport in general. Their passion is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pick up a couple of things here. We've got Barry Temple who just sent he says there's a football academy you may know in Dunstan Gateshead, Kings Meadow Football Academy. Have you heard of it?
I know Kings Meadow very well. My old teacher was Alan Dobson, who taught Paul Gascoigne to play football and who was a Dunstan boy, as we know, Gaza. Dunstan is literally half a mile from Wickham, where I lived. And my mum is from Dunstan, as is Brian Johnson from AC/DC. So I know Kings Meadow very well.
So they're closing the doors on 92 students at the end of the academic year. That's pretty sad, especially male and female students that don't get to finish their journey through school. That's tough. That is really tough. Well, Barry, we're sorry that's happening there in Dunstan and at Kings Meadow, and hopefully they'll come to the senses and maybe change that decision. You know,
Kings Meadow's been going a long time as well. It's an institution. Sad news.
That's and you know what, Renera, I love you too. Thank you so much. I appreciate that message out there. And Paul Newsom, he's a Geordie lad, Peter.
Yeah.
He coaches out there in Newcastle. He said Miggy plays like a fan on the pitch. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with it. Yeah, that's, as I was saying to you, Marcus, before, it's literally, that's his, he knows what it means to wear the shirt. And that shows in his performances every game. 90 minutes, he gives 110%.
Listen, in today's day, it's nice to see people who really want to commit to the jersey, because sometimes it's more about the money and where you're going to go shopping and all these types of things. I think people really appreciate that.
Well, again, too, though, I mean, when you stand in the locker room as a coach, in the Premier League, you're not just coaching players. You're actually demanding from millionaires when you think about that, right? The millionaires. You got a locker room full of millionaires. Compare that with 4 or 5 decades ago, right, where they played for peanuts. So they didn't have to work down the coal mines. Totally different mentality when you've got wealth, I think, is that there's got to be that sense of like power or arrogance also, I think, when to spend.
Yeah, and I think Marcus makes a good point as well, is that it's, if you understand what it means to the fans, I think that is a difference. And a lot of the game is so international now. When you talk about Newcastle, Sean, I think there's only literally one player from the city in the current starting 11. So you take out of that the understanding of the local area, the local pride, if you will. So and add to that the money, which you quite rightly say. Then it's a difficult thing to do and demand professionalism and demand that a little bit more every week in the shirt.
Mm-hmm. Now, Peter, you've been broadcasting for how many? Well over 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've actually been thinking, Marcus, you know me, right? I'm a fanatic on every sport, right?
Yeah.
Hey, swimming. I love to swim.
Badminton.
Football, baseball, badminton. You know it. And so I figured Peter's here. Why don't I look for the opportunity to get some first-hand mentoring from Peter? Because I think I could be a pretty good sports commentator. So what I did, Peter, I made an audition tape for you to look at of my commentary. Okay. So I'd like you to just evaluate it, give me some feedback. It's about a minute long.
Okay.
And so I've got some different sports together to show you my versatility. So, any input you've got, but, my knowledge of every sport is pretty damn good, if you ask me. Marcus, you've seen me before.
Without a doubt.
Oh, what a great goal. Hold on. So this is my audition tape. Oh, yes, here it is. It looks like 22's ready for the shot. He's eyeing the ball. He takes a shot, and it's a goal. What a great goal. Fantastic. Hit it really hard, too. Well, I don't know much about swimming, Fred, but listen, she's got to be offside. I don't see anybody in this half of the pool. Got to be totally offside. She's coming up right now. She's going to see the linesman. I'm sure the VAR's going to be on this one. She might be surprised. Yeah, she's going to get her head up. Way offside, pet. Way offside. Unlucky. Nice try, though. Well, you've got to be absolutely joking. I could be a brilliant tennis player playing this fast. These two have got to speed the game up. If they want to go anywhere in this game, they've really got to start picking up the pace, because to be honest with you, Jack, this is totally unacceptable. We're never going to win anything like this. You know, just plodding around the park like this is not going to win them the championship they so desperately desire. One of the biggest races here in France this month. We've got Billy Ascot at the back. This is all about game management. He's taking his time. He's just waiting for his move. Any second now or any week now, even any month now, he's going to accelerate at the front of the pack for sure. Well, I've got to be totally honest, Eric. I've been covering Premier League beach football for about 40 years now. And total lack of commitment, getting stuck in the tackle. Nobody's pressurizing. You know, nobody's really working themselves to the ground for this. They're just coming out nonchalantly. They won the Beach Cup last year. And to be honest with you, they need a few Heinekens, a couple of pina coladas, whatever it takes to get this team inspired. Because right now, I'd really put the big question mark on who the manager is and what his game tactics are. Wait, have I got potential or what?
I tell you what, I mean, great as you are as a soccer coach, there's no doubt about that. I'll still sleep easy tonight, I think. But I do take your point, especially with the beach football. More commitment needed.
You know, Marcus, have you ever tried commentating a game?
I never tried commentating.
I tried it one time. It was on, I don't know, it was some. It wasn't a professional game. It was some amateur game or whatever, and we were messing around. It is freaking hard, man. It is incredibly hard to do. I mean, you've got to do your homework, right, Peter?
Yeah, it's important that you've got. I mean, it's different now. You know, people relied on you for stats, and now, as you guys quite rightly said before, that with the social media, people don't rely on you for stats, but they've got the social media to see it for themselves. So you better make sure that your stats are correct. And those stats go a long way to helping people understand what could happen in a game. You know, there are certain players who have great records against certain clubs. There are certain players that haven't scored in months on end against a certain club. So will today be the day that he breaks his duck against Arsenal? There's so many facts and figures that need to go into it, basically.
Do you ever get any anxiety before going on and broadcasting, or is it just it's your thing, you just do it naturally?
You know, it's funny when you press the live, go live, you just there's a split second, and sort of maybe the 10 seconds building up, and then once you said good evening, welcome, and you know you're welcomed by the likes of you guys, it disappears. But I think it's healthy to have that. If it just becomes, oh, it's another broadcast, I don't think that that's for me. I like to have just that little bit of pre-match tension, shall we say. And then afterwards, you get the elation of having a great show.
Do you know Ray Hudson?
Yes,
he's a great commentator, isn't he?
Yeah. And again, you know, there's so many different people and different styles that there are certain people that you like to hear. There are certain, and not just in the great game, but also TV hosts that when you're interviewing people that you can take styles from. That, you know, there's a huge thing in the UK for celebrity chefs. They love their celebrity chefs who host Saturday morning programs. Now these guys they have to host and they're cooking at the same time to a TV audience for 2 hours. That's no easy task. And again, I take a lot of my pick up some great tips from those guys. So yeah. Who
was your favorite football broadcaster? I mean, you know, think about people like Jimmy Hill and John Motson and those guys back in the day, you know. And I told you before, I was just watching some of the old match of the day theme musics and all that kind of stuff. Who was it? Anybody particularly that you really liked?
From a commentary perspective, I always liked Barry Davis.
Yes.
Because he had such a distinctive voice, and again his stats were phenomenal. He was great. But as far as hosting goes, it's the current don of football and sports TV. It's Jeff Stelling. Yeah. Again, another guy from the northeast of England, but that guy literally runs a 4-hour show live with a panel of guests who are ex-football.
Yeah. Got him froze up a little bit there.
Yeah, I think Peter.
You got to remember, he's live from United Emirates.
I think you got him nervous, Greener. You got Peter nervous.
Yeah, Marcus. Well, until we get Peter back here. So
listen, two things. You know what? I'd like to ask Peter this, but hopefully he gets unfrozen. But you remember when ESPN with Chris Berman and everything was, they almost tried to announce in the same way. You know what I'm saying? And I got so tired of it, hearing all the announcers try to be Chris Berman. It kind of turned me off in a way.
Right. I enjoy the kind of, what do you call them, the color commentators better, rather than the guy who's doing the play-by-play. I like to listen to the color commentators. Marcus, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you were younger, right, did you think you were a good-looking guy?
No, I didn't think. I kind of knew like that.
Yeah. We thought you had been kidnapped there.
I was just dodging your question.
I was just asking Marcus, when he was younger, did he think he was a good-looking guy? What about you, Peter? Did you fancy yourself when you were younger as a good-looking bloke?
No, never gone down that road. No, just concentrated on being on, just concentrated on commentating. I never fancied myself. Can't say that.
Come on, you got.
I used to think, man, I was kind of ugly when I was younger, and was worried about asking people on dates and this and that. And I just found some old video of me, man. I'm thinking, man, I was super hot. What the hell was I thinking, man? Marcus, I found some video. I'm going to show you 30 seconds, not even. Oh. This is from this is 36 years old of me coaching.
All
right.
Okay.
I found this old DVD. This is me coaching 36 years ago. So that's how long I've been on videotaping myself.
Trust me, people. Rod Stewart.
It's impossible to be a quick player with the ball. It's impossible to be a quick player with the ball if you are not a quick player without the ball. So the first thing before we even touch a ball, we'll just show you some tips that you can use to become a quicker player.
What a sexy guy, eh?
You almost look a bit like Steve Cram, the Northeast runner.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I was thinking more like I don't know. People used to mistake me for David Bowie when I was younger.
David Bowie, yeah,
yeah, and now it's Brad Pitt. So I can't get away from it. Can't get away with it.
Listen,
did people ever mistake you for anybody, Pete?
No. I'm opening myself up here because you're probably going to get loads of people going, "Oh, he's the image of." No, never had. Fortunately, and everyone should play nice. So no, I'm going to skip on that one.
Marcus, what about you?
Oh yeah. Well, whoever's bald looks like me. It's really that's the way it goes. Every bald guy in the world looks the same.
I was at the World Trade Center one day with my team. Right, we were playing in New York, and I took them to the World Trade Center to just have a tour around, And I get off the bus, and this Chinese person, there was a bunch of tourists, Chinese party, and this guy comes up to me. He says, "You Crocodile Dundee?"
Wow, amazing, yeah.
I says, "Yeah, me Crocodile Dundee, but don't tell anybody, And next thing I know, man, like a couple of minutes later, there's like 20 people following me around the World Trade Center with cameras, man, for like 15 minutes, taking pictures. And thought it was Crocodile Dundee. Good day, mate. Peter. Who's the best people? Give me an idea of some of your most favorite people that you've interviewed over the years.
I would say the ultimate, is, of course, being a Newcastle fan, but I would say probably everyone in football knows him generally. I got to interview Kevin Keegan when he was opening his football academy, and that was great. And of course, he then found out that I was from Newcastle, so we wanted to talk about his time there and how much he loved it. So we spent some time after the interview. John Barnes was fascinating, another fine example of a legend. He was superb. Recently, I got to interview Sally Gunnell, OBE, who is the Olympic champion from the Olympics back in the 90s. She's still the female record holder for the 400 meters and the World Championship gold medal. Sally Gunnell was an honor to interview. And for those of you who are familiar with your 80s music, Tony Hadley from Spandau Ballet.
I love Spandau Ballet. They're great, man.
Was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I've been lucky enough to interview many people. All have been extremely positive, extremely open and friendly. So it's a great feeling.
Amazing. Keegan, when he was at Newcastle, there was a church beside St. James's, right? The ground, Newcastle's ground. And you know how they have these big like billboards, the church, it had Jesus Saves, right? Big letters. And somebody with a spray can put underneath it to put it had Jesus Saves, and somebody wrote, and Keegan gets the rebound.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so much so he was held in such high esteem that he was a guy that changed the city through football, which is everything. That everyone says that everyone in the world is connected by football, and that's the case. If you look at yourself, Sean, you were looking at guests, and look how football brought us together, and here we are from the same city. But Kevin Keegan was a special individual who understood. I think, going back to your point earlier on, he understood it. He got it. He knew what it meant to the fans. He knew that when he played with a passion, and when he came back as a manager, he understood again, tenfold what it meant to the fans. So he really understood the city. He understood the game, and that's why he's a legend in Newcastle.
Who would you like to see coach Newcastle?
Great question. I think it's time for some. We're looking at Steve Bruce now, and it's a thankless task. And I'm going to say that because I think any coach could come in at the moment, Sean, and he would struggle because of the owner, and the owner does not respect the club. He doesn't know what he has. He has the opportunity to make Newcastle a powerhouse in world football, but he doesn't do that. He sees them as an advertising vehicle for his sporting brands, and he doesn't understand football. So it doesn't matter which coach could come in. You could have Mourinho, you could have Pep Guardiola at Newcastle. It wouldn't make a difference until the owner changes and the mentality of ownership changes at that club. You could have three of the best coaches alongside each other, and it wouldn't help.
Do you see that happening pretty soon?
It's tried. It's tried a couple of times, and I know that the current owner is ready. He's ready to sell. We were ourselves involved in Dubai here a year ago with a takeover from the Bin Zayed group.
Yes.
That very, very rarely, very, very nearly, got to fruition. Currently ongoing is the saga between Saudi Arabia, the investment fund from Saudi, who bid for Newcastle. They wanted to take over, and the Premier League stopped them. And that is an ongoing case between the prospective owners and the current owners and the Premier League. Premier League stopped them because they didn't want so much money involved in the game, because Saudi obviously have untold riches. So that's an ongoing saga, unfortunately.
And I think I read that if that deal had went through, they'd probably be the richest club in the world.
They would, and there's a good stat for you, Sean, is that if you add up, and I include Manchester City in this as well, if you add up all of the Premier League clubs and the amount of money they have or their worth, they would still be £200 million, $400 million US short of what Newcastle would have if they had the Saudi owners.
Unbelievable. And a great environment for it, though. I mean, Newcastle is a really unique place, and it's really tailor-made for a big club, isn't it? To go in there. And
50,000 every week in the stadium. Doesn't matter which division that they're playing or which level their football is. But more important was to, you've just mentioned, Sean, was to the city itself. The development and what that money would bring to the city. They were going to revamp the whole city around the ground, around the stadium. It would help with Northeast tourism. There was so much at stake, and for the Premier League not wanting to upset the top six by allowing Newcastle to possibly enter that and go a stage higher, And that's what it was. It was the big clubs, the big six. They all got together and they all went to the Premier League and said, they can't have this. They can't own a football club. And it was more than the owning of a football club. It was the owning of a city, which would have created jobs and tourism.
I mean, they're a proud nation, the Geordies. I mean, even when we're not winning, can you imagine what that place would? It'd be lit up, wouldn't it, if we had the best team in the world? It'd be phenomenal.
People say. I mean, I remember coming back from quite a few cup finals where the losing side and the open top bus had 100, 200,000 people welcoming them back in the city. If they won, I don't know what would happen.
Unbelievable. Marcus, who are you a fan of? What team do you follow in the Premier League?
Listen, I did a little research before today's show, and I figured both you guys haven't really been back to Newcastle in a long time. No. So I have a question for you to see if you can answer this if you're really from Newcastle. What does it mean when somebody asks for a bottle of dog?
It's a famous beer in the States as well.
Do you know
it's a popular beer.
I don't drink, Marcus, so
you don't know the story behind it.
The barking dog?
No, Newcastle Brown Ale. When the husband asked for a bottle of dog, you don't know that story?
No.
So it's the famous excuse where the husband tells the wife, "I got to go walk the dog," and instead he goes to the bar and gets some Newcastle Brown Ale. You guys failed my question, and then. George, I think I'm going to use you as a reference when I apply for the Newcastle head job.
Do it.
Hey, you know what? I think we were talking about the pressures earlier on, about pressures in the game, but when you know that you're walking out of there when you get fired with, $5 million in your back pocket, it kind of relieves the pressure a little bit, doesn't it?
Come on.
Right?
It does, but, looking at it from a professional stance is that these guys are super proud. Yes, they have their salaries locked in and their bonuses. They're very clever. They've got great people around them to do that. But by the same token, when you get fired, it means it's a couple of things. You haven't been good enough as a coach. Your team haven't played for you. You failed. That next job is a lot tougher to get back into than it would be with a great CV. So, there is that aspect to it as well. Of course, it's sweet to walk away with $5 million in your back pocket, but that's only if you're not going to be involved in the game again. But it does harm your CV if you've been fired.
Pete, I'm just going to run a quick ad here. It's about 10 seconds.
Brought to you by SoccerClinics.com, the world's first coaching website, and the DiBernardo Soccer School, featuring the world's only cognitive coaching course.
Guys, I'm just going to give a shout out. We got a segment called Soccer Coach TV around the world. We got fans all over the world, Peter.
Brilliant, fantastic.
One guy, Gav Phipps, Coach Phipps. Gav's a great guy. He's been a supporter of Soccer Coach TV for so many years. And not only that, a great friend. And he coaches the Washington Junior FC out there. So a big shout out to Washington Junior FC. I hope they're back on the field training, I think, this week. And soon to be playing out there. But he's a great guy. I've made so many friends all over the world through Soccer Coach TV, through the channel. And people say, friends on Facebook, on the internet are not real friends. And I got to tell you, Pete, I mean, I've got friends who are more real. I talk to them more than I do with my regular friends here, in my own neighborhood. And, we video chat, whether it's in India or whether it's in Africa or whether it's in Europe. And some of these people are being great. Marcus, I also want to give a shout out to Felipe Teles from the Canadian Soccer Coaches Network. It's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Felipe.
Felipe runs this huge group. I don't know how many thousand they've got. Big, massive group on Facebook, which we support and we show our content on there. So a big shout out to Felipe. So what's in the future for Geordie Peter Redding? Can you tell us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, our Hollywood Ball show is our. It's of two things. So we have a live show on a Saturday. which is a preview of the Premier League games, which goes out live on YouTube, similar to yours. We have guests on very similar, but we basically have certain elements to the show whereby our global audience can message in and they take us on with the predictions. So that's Hollywood Balls Live, which is in conjunction with you. You probably see the panda up in my screen, which is our partner of the show, which is the football app, which is a global football forum where fans from all around the world get together in one forum. Whether you support, you could support Orlando, you could be supporting Arsenal in England, Bayern Munich in Germany. Everyone's under one roof. And basically what happens there is that they earn points predicting and playing football, soccer games. And it's one big happy football community. It's a great place. It's actually reminded me of something that you said at the start of the show. Both you guys have mentioned it about how social media can be a little sort of unpleasant at times. Mm-hmm. The football app has a great community whereby none of that is tolerated. We have 500,000 members in there, for fans from all over the globe, from US, from Brazil, from Nigeria.
And they can get that on the App Store. And the name of the app is what? TFA?
It's TFA. It's the football app, which is FUTBOL app, the football app. And
does it have any kind of instruction, education in there or on there
yes.
too? Like
sorry, for
any coaching, any resources for coaching in it?
It doesn't, and it could be a conversation that you should have because it could be a nice element. Currently, it's looking at the games, talking with conversing with other fans, taking part in competitions online, predicting the scores from all the big games. But it's a good point, and we should probably have a chat about that. But it's a great thing. Hollywood Balls itself will continue with our guests, our level of guests. We're very proud of. We have some fantastic ex-footballers and managers who come on and tell us great tales from their career. And that's on my YouTube, which is Geordie Pete Redding.
Now, what about your career down the road? You're happy where you're at, or do you aspire to be at a different level or a different area?
I'm very happy with Hollywood Balls and where we're going. We literally have got... we're helping projects in Scotland with broadcasting through Hollywood Balls, Cyprus also, as well as Africa, as I've just mentioned. But down the road, there's a couple of major tournaments coming up in 2022. Not too far from me are the World Cup finals. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that we've started preparation that we're going to be involved with the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. Wow. So you may see me on your screens, hopefully.
Well, I'd like to encourage all our viewers and all the supporters of Soccer Coach TV to check out Hollywood Balls and also download the TFA app.
Yeah,
it comes on a strong recommendation from Geordie Pete, and if he says it's good, it must be good. And Peter, well, listen, I want to thank you personally. I mean, for coming on the show. It's been great to get to know you as a person, a fellow Geordie. It's always great to meet a fellow Geordie. Marcus. Sexy and as good as normal. Appreciate it, son. I'll be seeing you pretty soon. But Pete, let's stay in touch. Now we're connected. It's a great thing about social media, and we'd love to have you back at some other point, back on the show if you're interested. But again, check out Hollywood Balls and download the TFA app. Thanks again, Peter. We'll see you down the road, and thank you to all the people who have logged on to watch the show today, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Good meeting you, Pete. Thanks, Greener.
You got it, bro. Oh.
Soccer Coach TV, where coaches live.